everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is going to cover the master narrative, which is also called the dominant narrative. We're also going to be covering counter narratives and the bootstrap narrative. Today's video will probably be a little bit shorter than last week's because this topic is a little bit more straightforward. So, without further ado, welcome to History EDU, where I will be asking the tough questions and trying my best to answer them. The first definition I'm going to be giving is going to cover the master narrative or the dominant narrative. The master narrative or the dominant narrative is very straightforward. Basically just means that the dominant population in a continent or a country is telling the history, telling that area's story. This means that for the United States, since our country was colonized and settled by European immigrants, all quote-unquote true Americans are white, and all other skin tones are out of the mix. All other ethnicities are marked as the other, and they're not as important to our history. That is why we need to cover anti-racist and anti-bias histories, because this is a problem. Basically, people that have ancestors other than European immigrants have been pushed to the sidelines, often ignored, very oppressed in every sense of the word, and usually they are treated as inferior or not part of the United States national identity. Now, where is the master narrative used? Most often we hear it in our textbooks and we hear it from our history teachers because that is the curriculum that our government wants us to push, sadly. Another thing I'd like to mention about the master narrative or the dominant narrative is that stereotypes are often part of the master narrative, and we have to be careful when we think about other people or think about other countries, because usually what we think about are the stereotypes or the single storyline of the dominant culture that has been pushed in both marketing, in the news, in our textbooks, in every manner possible. So be sure to look at all different perspectives and try and visit a country before you make any assumptions about it. Try to meet a person before you make any assumptions about them, because a single story is not the whole story. There's multiple different stories of different people, and that's what makes us human. That's what makes us us, basically. That's what makes up our identities. Next definition is going to cover the counter-narrative. Counter-narratives are basically the epitome of anti-biased and anti-racist education. What we want to do is take the master narrative and we switch it up and show all of the different perspectives, all of the different voices, and all of the different stories that a certain topic has, and that is a counter-narrative. A counter-narrative is a message that offers a positive alternative to extremist propaganda, or alternatively aims to deconstruct or delegitimize extremist narratives. Now, one very important distinction here is that this is not the Bootstraps narrative. The counter-narrative is not a Bootstraps narrative. So, what is a Bootstraps narrative? Basically, the Bootstraps narrative it's like the quote, "Pull yourself up by your bootstraps." A person that works hard can accomplish anything, and it serves as a whitewash narrative to give hope to minorities that they can make it in society and that they don't have any obstructions in their path. If they work hard enough, that they will be able to make it far, get past the obstructions, which in some cases may be true, but in most cases in terms of history, this is not true. For example, a Bootstraps narrative is Martin Luther King Jr. He put his head down, he worked hard, he was peaceful in his protesting, and that got him the results that he wanted. In terms of history, that is slightly true, but there's also many things that are left out. Just please take everything with a grain of salt. You may think that Martin Luther King Jr. Jr. is a counter narrative, but his story is a Bootstraps narrative that serves as a beacon of hope, basically, for minorities, that if they follow the same path that he did, then they'll be able to make it in society and they'll be able to change everything. So this is how many of our textbooks and curriculum are thought out in terms of who embodies the whitewash narrative, who embodies the dominant narrative, and how they want people to react whenever they want change. And we can definitely see that now in the Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of people are saying, oh, why can't they be more like Martin Luther King Jr., protest peacefully, and they'll get the change that they want if they follow his footsteps. That's how you know that it's part of the whitewash narrative. Okay, that is it for today. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section, because this is meant to be a discussion. If you don't agree with something that I've said, be sure to make a comment about it and we can discuss it in length. Or I could make another video about it if you wanted to. Be sure to like and subscribe for my next video. Next week is going to be a topic that is one of my pet peeves, basically. I'm probably going to be going on a bit of a rant next week, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching and see you next week. One thing I'd like to mention is that it is allergy season here in Texas, and that is why my eyes are all puffy. I am also a college student, so please bear with me while the lighting changes and the sound isn't as great and the video quality isn't as great. But I am a college student, as I said, and I am just doing this out of the passion that I have for what I'm talking about, and basically just what you see is what you get. Okay? So don't go complaining about it. Bye! I'm crying, apparently. Terrible allergy season, by the way. That is, okay. That stereotype, I can't talk.